Hey Freddie, I'm not going to try to outdo you with more music or anything like that. What I want to get down to is the base of our argument toward the end of this discussion. Um, I really wanted to address the idea of good truth and bad truth. I don't think there is such a thing. I think there's truth. The connotation of good and bad is something that we humans give to things we have emotions about. And I think that, again, you're really getting into like the idea of perspective and how you perceive things. Um, it's kind of a funny example, the lottery curse. Okay, everyone wants to win the lottery, but everyone who wins the lottery loses all their money and has all this misfortune. Is that a good truth or is it a bad truth? The truth was they won the lottery, and I think the truth is what you make of it. So I want to get into a different aspect of truth, and I talked about this briefly on my previous video, but we're going to go into the idea of pragmatism. Again, I'm using the classical philosophical questions. It's the 12th edition. Narrators Gould and Mulvaney. The idea behind pragmatism is kind of interesting and is really pushed on by William James. He's an American philosopher and psychologist. He went to Harvard in 1800s, blah, blah, blah. But I find this argument interesting. He says, the moment pragmatism asks this question, it sees the answer. True ideas are those we can assimilate, validate, corroborate, and verify. False ideas are those we cannot. This is the practical difference that makes it known to have true ideas. That therefore is the meaning of truth, for it is all that truth is known as. It's kind of like correspondence. What they're looking for is evidence that truth is truth. But pragmatists are a little bit different. They kind of take this weird tangent. So true thought is useful because the house which it is object is useful. The practical value of truth is thus primarily derived from the practical importance of their objects to us. So what he is saying is that truth is kind of a perspective, and that there can be more than one truth, and that truth in my life can be different than truth in your life. And then he goes on to say, you can say it then either that's useful because it's true, or it's true because it's useful. Here's another aspect of truth we don't really cover, and Socrates doesn't cover this at all, is that it is an item that is not useful, untrue, and that seems kind of off, and I always found that to be a little bit weird for the pragmatic point of view. But what we have to understand is this is not just, a one-up game between you and I. This is really what we're trying to do, is establish where truth is and how we have to find the truth. So what we define as this truth really comes down to what our backgrounds are, what our education level is, and then I'm not sure that I can really say that there's one great truth. And Socrates may argue differently, Phaedrus may argue differently, and you may argue differently, but what I need in truth is something substantial. I need something that I can grab onto. You use a great example. You can't see oxygen, but you know it's there. And then you have to say, okay, well, what about science? Because you can put oxygen in a bottle. So at some level, they have to be able to see it so they can bottle the stuff, right? There's a lot behind your arguments, and I want to validate that kind of idea. And that was not, my point was not to take away from your blue apples thing either. But what is true in a sense of correspondence is that it doesn't matter what people think. You have an idea, and it's an idea, that's all it is. But if the idea is corroborated by facts, you have truth. And I think that that's something that can be built into any argument for truth. And I think that's something that Socrates would agree with. I also like some of the ideas of pragmatism because they let you be more free, and they let society choose their own truth. And then you get into moral and ideological issues like murder. If it's okay to murder in your culture, does that make it a truth for your culture? If it's okay to, you know, steal, is that a truth? I don't know, and that's not something that I think I can answer. But hopefully, we're at that point where, you know, we've actually gotten some insight into this topic, and I think that between you and I, we've touched on a lot of different things, and I'm proud of the work we've done. So kudos to you, my friend. Um, Hopefully, you'll be able to get one more post in, whether it's written or video, and it was a pleasure working with you.